my Hall of Fame friend and my compadre in the booth for this game here in Germany on NFL Network that airs Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern from Allianz Arena right here in Munich. Kurt Warner is here on the program, fresh off a plane, and this is awesome. I mean, honestly, you just get a general sense of just how special it is. Clearly, when you step off a plane internationally, talking about we're going to be talking football in that arena coming up on Sunday.
Well, I mean, you know, we love doing games. Period. Doesn't matter where it's at, but it always does have a special feel when we come over here. Having called the game here a couple years ago, and just remembering that experience as a whole, and the singing and the way the audience was in it, and just understanding the game. You know, sometimes you come over, and especially in the early years, where you're like, all right, how much do they understand the game? Following that game when we were here in Munich, you're like, man, these guys know exactly what's going on. Yeah. They're cheering at the right time. You know, they're a fan base. That time it was the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get back in the booth with you. You know, it just gets better every time we get a chance to do something together. And excited to sit down with some of the players on these teams, like a Bryce Young, and kind of find out where he's at this point after everything that's transpired over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and we're going to be chatting with him on Friday. We're chatting with the Giants on Saturday prior to the broadcast on Sunday. And, you know, the one of the biggest first early season September shocks was Bryce Young being benched after just 2 games, going 0-2. And then he gets back in because Andy Dalton gets into a minor car accident. And I guess it's only minor when it happens to somebody else. But, you know, he hurts his hand. But this one is a start for Bryce Young for a 3rd straight time. But the last 2 were, according to Dave Canales, who we're going to also be talking to Friday, earned. He has earned it. Have you seen an ascension here?
Yeah, I have. He actually has looked better. He's looked more comfortable. His timing has been a lot better the last couple of weeks. So I'm excited to sit down with him and what happened, you know, because I know we all sit in the media or we sit back and when he was benched and everybody's like, what are we doing? You know, it's a year and 2 games and he didn't really get a shot. I often think a lot of these guys, even if they're high picks, are put in too soon. And they need that moment to kind of step back and reflect on the situation and get away from the pressure and then be able to step back in a different mode. And I feel like that's where he's at. And sometimes, you know, when you're thrown right in there, you don't get the opportunity to really take in what it means to be an NFL quarterback. You're just trying to survive. I say that all the time, is that you throw young guys in, they're not ready. They're just playing to survive. And what I mean by that is go out there, do whatever you've got right now to try to win a football game or to try to have success without truly knowing what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. And so we've seen Anthony Richardson get benched by Indianapolis, another guy that I don't think is ready. And so I think there are so many benefits from waiting your turn, waiting until you're ready, or in a situation like this, being able to have that taken off your plate. I mean, we did the game in London a few weeks back, and we were talking to Sam Darnold, and that's exactly what he said was the pressure of being a high pick and in New York and what that meant. And when he finally got to San Francisco and was actually put on the bench there and was a backup, and he's like, I finally got to see this from a different perspective. And now he's having an incredible year in Minnesota. And so I just think there's so many benefits to that. And there's so much, you know, if you look at it the right way, it can be a blessing for some of these young guys, especially in the early stages, to step back from all of that and get a chance to learn, settle in, and then maybe next time around, you know, you're in a better position, like it at least appears that Bryce Young is.
And then the last international game we did was Bears versus Jaguars. We saw Caleb Williams perform really well in the final 3 quarters of that game against Jacksonville. We met with DJ Moore the day before, and he says the Wi-Fi is connected. I don't know if the Bears have that plan where, you know, parents can switch off the Wi-Fi with just to press the button on their phone, because it sure looks like somebody did that.
Yeah, well, Jayden Daniels, I think, did that.
Well, honestly, do you think that that Hail Mary is still lingering here for this Bears, that it's left a mark that's more than just one moment in time here?
I think it can. You know, we talk in this business and we throw around the cliche all the time. One game at a time, you know, one week at a time, one play at a time, all of that stuff. But it's not always as easy to do. You know, we used to say that, you know, played in a couple Super Bowls, and when you lose the Super Bowl. Everybody wants to say, oh, it's a new season. That doesn't have anything to do with it. But sometimes that hangs with you. And the same thing can happen in the course of a game. You can throw an interception on a play, and everybody's like, it's one snap and clear. You made a mistake. Now you have to move on. But then you call that play or you see that defense again, and now that comes back into your mind. So you have to have a short memory in this business. But it's not as easy as us just saying, okay, that game's over and done with. Because, what you see with Chicago is they were in great shape. I think they were 4-2.
They were 4-2
going into that game.
Four touchdowns in that game as well.
Right.
And we just played a soundbite of Caleb Williams talking about needing to get on the same page again with DJ Moore, who strolled off the field in the middle of a play last week in Arizona. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that before, and it sounds like they're not connected. Something's up.
Exactly. And you wonder how much that does play a factor, because they were playing well. You're feeling really good about where your team is. And then you have something like that within the locker room, because we all know what transpired there defensively. You lose this game, who takes accountability? You want your coach to come out and now you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, we gave one away that we should have had. And now you go into the next one, and the last one's still on your mind. And, we all saw it. They didn't play very well on either side of the ball against Arizona. And so now you wonder, can you stop that ball from rolling downhill? And as crazy as it sounds, yes, one play, one bad loss can stick with a team and can negatively affect them for the long term.
Kurt Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show. We are in Munich, Germany. I can't believe it. It's so pretty cool. It's so cool. Surrounded by some incredible cars and just a great scene here, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. So I'm going to do your favorite thing, which is ask you a sports talk radio question.
All right.
You love this sort of
thing. You knew it was coming, Kurt.
I know. It had to come at some point.
No, there's invariably there are questions asked of Kurt, and the answer is always going to be like, how should I know right now?
Right.
Why are you asking me this question right now? I don't know as much as you do. I mean, other than the fact that I watch film all the time, and you're a Hall of Famer. So I just gave my power rankings list.
Okay.
And I go back and forth here. Chiefs are undefeated. Lions have one loss, but they are playing... They're eviscerating everybody.
Yeah.
And it seems like the Chiefs are doing this, that, the other thing, and getting through. Best team in football, Lions or Chiefs? You just saw the Chiefs on Monday night on Westwood One Radio. What do you think?
I'm going to go Chiefs. And it's solely because, you look at both teams. I love the Lions offense, and maybe the best offense in football right now. Still have a lot of questions about their defense. So I look at it and go, okay, if these two teams were to match up, who do I like in that matchup? And it would be a great battle between the Lions offense and the Chiefs defense. I love the Chiefs defense. I think it's the best defense in the league. And so then you flip it on the other side. And even though the Chiefs offense hasn't been explosive, it's fun to watch Patrick Mahomes every time out, because you may not appreciate it if you don't really know what you're watching. But when you know what you're watching, you appreciate the fact that he just makes the right play in the moment almost every time. And that may just be a check down. It may be him buying some extra time, like we saw on Monday night, buying some extra time, going out, and then a little flip over the top for the touchdown.
While suffering an ankle injury that had him prone 2 seconds after flipping that ball.
Exactly. Or San Francisco. Remember the play, he's running out of the pocket and goes to the sideline, and all of a sudden he stops on the sideline. A guy runs by him, and he runs for 40. He makes those kind of plays routinely in every single game. And so where we see this offense and say, oh, this offense isn't great, I think he makes the offense great, and not just because of, the incredible arm or the incredible throws that he makes, but it's how he plays in the moment. And it's just like we all knew when the coin toss said Chiefs get the ball, we all knew they were going to go down and score. You just know. And it didn't have to look pretty. You just knew he was going to make the right play all the way down the field. They were going to finish this game. And so because of that, against the Lions defense, I would give the edge to the Chiefs in that matchup, as much as I like what the Lions are doing.
So you don't give them the ball first in the Super Bowl overtime, you lose.
Yeah.
You give them the ball first in regular season overtime, you lose.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that's the sort of situational football that you see from them. And so I appreciate your answer because that matches up with what I said.
Okay, nice.
And that makes me feel really good.
Oh,
you know, that makes me feel really good about myself.
Did anybody disagree? Does anybody go Lions?
Oh, yeah, absolutely Lions.
You would definitely go absolutely Lions.
If they played in the Super Bowl, the Lions are more physical.
Than the Chiefs' defense?
I don't know about that.
Baker put up some points.
No, I mean, Baker did put up some points. I thought that was one of the worst games their defense had played.
Yeah,
but normally their defense is really physical, inside and outside. I mean, I think that would be a great matchup between both of them, and that's why I lean to the other side and go, where would you put your money? And I'm going to put my money on 15.
Always.
Yeah.
That's
pretty much.
15's that man. As long as he's got two working legs and they only have to work well, as we saw. I'm betting
And without that dynamic pass rusher. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson changes everything.
Well, they did get Zadarius.
They did, and I love Zadarius. But again, he's not Aiden right now. And so that's another thing when you got Patrick Mahomes. You have to make sure he stays in that pocket and beats you with those guys throwing the football. And if you can't do that, that's where he's been the difference maker.
And surprised, DeAndre Hopkins just needed one, home game to start getting on the same, if you will, page with him, with Mahomes.
No, I mean, that was fun to watch. I mean, that's exciting when you make a move like that and he shows up in that manner. And even the one play, that special throw by Patrick into three guys and DeAndre going up and getting it. Now it's back to that mode where it's like, oh, I can do that with him. Like, now we've got that guy where I don't have to make the perfect throw every time. So if DeAndre Hopkins can be that guy, I like the Chiefs.
All right, another sports talk radio question. Since that went so well. That went better than you thought it
That was good.
When I first set it up that way.
I got to share a little analysis to go with it, so I can do that.
Exactly.
I can do that.
I'm not just,
I appreciate that.
Any sports talk radio host.
Wasn't just give me your top five.
Thank you.
We've got Kurt.
Do you have a top five?
I probably would, but I don't think from those terms, so I would have to think about it.
He would have to think. And the man he's jet lagged, just like I am, all right?
He slept,
back
though.
off.
I did sleep. I feel pretty good right now, actually.
Kurt Warner, feeling good right here on the Rich Eisen Show.
Got Kurt from Iowa calling in on
So we have the Lions taking on the Texans on Sunday night. And CJ Stroud has not played as well this year as he did last year when he was a unicorn, second overall rookie choice, and you were talking about MVP for him.
Right.
Is Jayden Daniels having a better second overall drafted rookie year than CJ Stroud last year? Kurt Warner.
Ooh, that's a great question.
Thank you. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. When you get it, that's a great question. What do you got?
Wow. That's a good question. I mean, they are so comparable in so many different ways. The thing I love so much about CJ last year was, A, his ability to process information, but B, how technically sound he was, in terms of throwing the football. Mm-hmm. And you come to Jayden Daniels this year, and you could say those exact two things, that he's processing information really well and the opposite. Both of them are protecting the ball really well. The difference between the two in that regard was CJ did it more inside the pocket. What I really have enjoyed watching with Jayden Daniels is that, there's times that he doesn't see it. And most quarterbacks that don't have his ability, when they don't see it, they got to try to make it happen. He is so good at, when he doesn't see it, saying, I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to go and create some other opportunity, whether it's a 3-yard run or a big play with my legs. So that's been really impressive. And I don't know if it's recency bias, but I would probably lean towards Jayden Daniels at this point. And again, one thing we have to remember is, CJ did it for 17 games. He
sure did.
And Jayden's only halfway through. But I think Jayden Daniels has to be in the MVP conversation right now, where I don't know. I guess CJ probably was at this point.
He wasn't mostly, but you were putting him in that.
Yeah,
it was starting to heat up midway through the year.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But you were early on in saying that about him last year, which is why I'm interested. I was interested in getting your answer here. And the fact you're saying Jayden Daniels is only more of an spotlight on how much you feel about it. Right?
And I just think basically when I see their team, I would have said the Texans team last year was better around CJ.
They can't protect him right now.
Than what I would. No, they can't.
Happening?
What I expect with Jayden Daniels. So I've been really, really impressed. I I think it's really a combination in Houston right now. I don't think CJ's playing very well. And last year, one of his greatest traits was his ability to see it and get the ball out quick. You know, their offensive line obviously played better, but I think that helped their offensive line last year. They've done some things the last few weeks scheme-wise that I'm not really a fan of, but CJ's holding the ball longer and missing some things in front of him that he didn't miss last year. And, you know, we always say, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Like, the issues up front, is that forcing him to try to play too fast and not seeing what he needs to see? But I always tell the guys I work with, I tell my son this all the time, is you got to trust those guys up front even when they give you no reason to trust them. So even if you got hit on the last play, we were talking about one snap and clear, even you got hit on the last play, you got to believe they're going to do their job on this play so you can read and play the game. And if you don't do that and you start looking around or you start wondering or looking for a hole because you're worried about the guys up front, you don't play as well as a quarterback. And right now, he's not playing as well as he did last year. And the pieces around him aren't playing as well either.
Back here in Munich, Germany, look at this beautiful set we got here. Can you believe it? Where we are?
It's crazy.
And how do you like my new car?
I love it. It matches your logo. You can just stick your logo right on the side.
Yeah, why not?
Be a billboard on top of it, but that thing is sweet.
I don't know. Is this the right time I should mention that whoever does the best guest spot here on the Rich Eisen Show gets the car?
Yeah.
The brand new car.
What?
That's what it says.
A new car?
I'll stay all day.
Brand new car.
Take up the whole day.
Now suddenly you're hanging out.
Ask me more questions. Whatever
More
you
sports
want.
talk.
I am all in.
What did you say? You looked up the numbers of Jayden Daniels?
Yeah, so I was looking at the
Stroud?
numbers, just comparing the two. It's so similar, second overall pick. They're pretty close.
At this point, at the
9-game mark. So last year, CJ Stroud, the Texans were 5-4, but he had 15 touchdowns.
They also started 0-2.
And only 2 interceptions. And he'd been sacked, 19 times. Yeah. Jayden Daniels so far, he has 9 touchdowns, but only 2 interceptions. He has 4 rushing touchdowns. Very similar passer ratings. They're pretty even players through the first 9 games of their career.
The accuracy is it's like you. I mean, this guy's like 80%, 85%.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But I mean, again, I talk about technique all the time. Is that technique, no matter who you are in the league, it drives your ability to be accurate with the football. Both of those guys play with really, really good physical technique on top of everything they do well mentally, and it's a big reason why they throw so well.
Well, Kurt Warner, by using the word drives in that answer, car's yours.
Hey.
Well done.
What?
Contest's over. Brand new car, hey. Kurt Warner.
Hey. All right, I got to come all the way to
beautiful?
Germany for this. Huh?
What movie did you watch on the plane?
Great question.
What did you watch?
That's a great question.
You don't remember?
I don't.
It was like 2 hours ago.
Well, because it wasn't like a famous movie. It had Sean Penn and
Two enthusiastic thumbs down.
No,
Kurt Warner back
it was
here
actually
on the
a good
program.
movie, but he was actually just driving a gal home in a cab. And
Sean Penn?
Yeah.
It's the movie you watched on the plane?
Yeah, and they had a conversation, a long conversation just about life. And, I was doing some work for EJ.
For your son?
With his game plan. He's got a game tomorrow night against Memphis. So
what time? Are you going to have to stay up for that?
Oh, yeah. I'll stay up. I don't know what. 7 o'clock.
Get that VPN
7
working?
o'clock there. So, yeah, exactly. I'll be watching in the middle of the night. Doing some stuff for him with his game plan and then watching the movie over the top. So, but I do not know. That's one thing I like to do when I get on planes, though.
Yes.
Is I don't watch the blockbuster movies. I'm trying to find these ones that I've never heard of before and throw them on.
Or those are the ones that Brenda would have no interest in watching? Is that what you're saying,
she might actually like to watch it with me, but she usually has her own TV show. So, anyways, I don't even know what the name of it was, but I liked it.
There you go. Two
I liked it.
Two middling thumbs halfway.
It was all right. It was
Okay,
No, it was
ladies and
good. It was good.
Siskel Ebert and Kurt Warner right here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'm dating myself. Russell Wilson, has he turned a corner? What do you think here? Is he back? Is Russ cooking? Is he smelting?
I'm not ready to say that he's turned a corner yet. So, huge fan of Russell when he was in Seattle.
Yes.
When he moved to Denver and they asked him to play a different way and actually see the field, read the field, he hasn't been as good. He hasn't been able to see the field very well. So now getting inserted in Pittsburgh, that's what I've kind of been watching for in these last couple games. And I'll just say that the games from that perspective have been pretty easy for him. So in other words, He hasn't seen a lot of coverage. He hasn't had to go through and decipher a lot of reads. It's been a lot of one-on-one throws, which is something that he's always been able to do. I mean, you give him a one-on-one situation, especially on some of those deeper throws, and he's going to make those throws. So it hasn't been as challenging as the last couple years in Denver were in terms of how they're asking him to play. So for me, the verdict is still out on if he's turned the corner and can be a different kind of quarterback, but he may not have to be that kind of quarterback because Pittsburgh is so good at running the football and doing the play action stuff and simplifying things on the outside, which has always been where Russ has been at his best, that he may not have to be the quarterback they tried to make him into or that he wanted to show people he was in Denver, and he can go back to being more of what he was in Seattle. And so far, so good.
No doubt about it. That game against the Commanders is just going to be so much fun to see.
It is.
Niners coming off a bye. McCaffrey looks like he's going to be back in the mix. And then at some point, maybe Dre Greenlaw can come back from that Achilles pop during the Super Bowl. And Hufanga may be on the radar screen, and they're getting healthier and getting better. Rams are back to 500, taking on the Dolphins on Monday Night Football to wrap up this Week 10. And then, of course, you've got the Cardinals in first place right now, a game above 500. Handicap this division for me. Who do you think has the best chance to finish up the second half of the season and win it, Kurt?
I'm going to lean towards San Francisco just because I've seen their guys. I've seen the consistency by which they play. If they get healthy and can get back to some semblance of that, that's the team from a consistency standpoint that I lean towards. The Rams to me are up and down and all over. Now, if you keep them in a game and you give Matthew Stafford the football late in a game, they can beat anybody, because they've got the playmakers if those two wide receivers are out there and their run game. But more importantly, Matthew in that moment. But he has been up and down. Like that game against Seattle, I didn't think they played very well in that game. They got some benefits from the turnovers, and then Seattle goes for it on fourth down and gives Matthew a chance, and he's going to make those plays over and over. But I just don't know if I feel comfortable with their team as a whole to say they're going to be there. And I would say the same thing about the Cardinals, is that if they can run the football, they'll have a chance, because I love James Conner and I love their power run game. Again, Kyler Murray to me is a roller coaster ride. Is that some games it's like, wow, like, can we just get that every week? And then there's other games where he's it's hard to even find him, in making plays. And then their defense has kind of been the same way, a roller coaster ride. So just from that standpoint, and it probably has nothing to do with what San Francisco's really done this year, as much as knowing those names, knowing they've been there, getting those guys healthy. I just believe there's going to be more level of consistency with the 49ers down the stretch than I can expect from those other two teams.
I mean, Kyler doesn't look like he's just running around and trying to make a play anymore. Right? It looks to me more, what's the lack of a better phrase? I wouldn't say normal. It just looks more game plan and more under control. More
under control.
Right? I mean.
But so kind of what I see with Kyler is that, with each given play, he's going to kind of pick a guy that he thinks he's going to throw it to.
Okay.
And if he can throw it to that guy, he's always really, really good. But then usually from that guy, he goes to a check down more than he goes to kind of number 2 or number 3 in the progression. And it's one thing that I think he does really well is that when he's not sure, he's going to get you a positive play by not running around as much, but knowing where his check down is and complete it. But in doing that, what you see from this team is they throw for 140 yards a game because, to me, the best teams in the league, you will push the ball down the field, you will make the big play over and over again, and you can't just settle for checkdowns, more times than not in a game. And that's the step that Kyler needs to take. If you give him his first guy open, he is a gifted thrower, and he will make that throw. But sometimes you got to go from one and get the big play at number 2 instead of just getting the check down, because that's the difference-making play that takes your team from a really good run team, and a meddling passing team to a team that's dangerous every time you step on the field, and that's the thing that's missing. And so it's been fun to watch him make strides in different areas throughout his career, that's the next step that I think he has to take.
Kurt, I will see you next, I guess, in the AM when we're going to go see the Carolina Panthers. You're going to go visit Bryce Young and Dave Canales, and then on Saturday we got the Giants, and then on Sunday we've got the game. You are the man, Kurt Warner, our Pro Football Hall of Famer, to wrap up hour number 2 of day number 1 here in Munich. We're still here on the Roku Sports Channel. So you watched a movie you don't remember the name of, and you said Brenda's got her own TV shows. So she watches TV shows that she knows you have no interest in? Is that what it is? Or
she just knows I have no time to watch them.
Okay.
She wants me. So in the off season, we try to grab a show that we'll watch together.
What was the last one that you did? What is that?
That's a great question.
Oh, gosh.
Come on, man.
I know you're killing me. Like I'm in football mode right now. What is the last series that we watched?
I'm
we
trying
watched
to
House of
drill
Dragons.
down from all 22 to all 1. What is
we
it?
We watched House of Dragons.
House of Dragons. I like
in
that.
the off season.
The second season or the first? He's like, I was told there'd be no math on this.
I guess it was the second season. We're following along.
Okay.
So we've done.
Okay, you like that stuff.
We've done Game of Thrones and House of Dragons. She wants me to watch Peaky Blinders.
Yes.
With her.
Do it.
So I just started the beginning. And then she loves it, and so she went all the way through. But it was right at the beginning of the season. So
my suggestion to you.
So I miss out, but she likes that one.
My suggestion to you before watching the first episode. Have you watched an episode of Peaky Blinders?
No, I have not.
Oh,
put the subtitles on.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah, she told me that
to start.
Big time.
Yeah.
Even though they are talking English, trust me, they are.
She loves Tom Hardy, and so when he comes into it, and she's like, but you're gonna have trouble understanding what they're saying. So so she did already tell me that. But so she's got a whole bunch of them, and she always wants like, hey, can we start this? And then I missed the first episode, and she runs through the whole thing, and then she's like, oh, I'll come back and watch it with you some other time.
Keeping up with the Warners, everybody, to wrap up hour number 2. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.